Knowledge and value in Kalam. From the very beginning, the concept of knowledge and value has held a significant place in Kalam, one of the three main branches of Islamic thought. Knowledge. In the realm of Kalam, we see that the concept of knowledge, or ilm, is addressed from both religious and philosophical perspectives. From a religious standpoint, discussions about whether Allah's attribute of knowledge is eternal also constitute a significant part of the topic of Allah's attributes. The philosophical dimension of the concept deals with questions such as what human knowledge is and its source. Definitions of knowledge. According to the early Mu'tazila theologians who played a significant role in the emergence of Kalam as a field, knowledge, ilm, is the belief that relieves a person from the uncertainty created by doubt in the mind, in other words, faith or itiqad. Ibn Hazm, a famous Zahiri theologian who agreed with this definition of the Mu'tazila, states that faith, itiqad, means certain knowledge. However, there were also theologians within the Mu'tazila who argued that knowledge is the characteristic that provides comfort to the scholar's heart, meaning Ash'ari, who was a Mu'tazilite until the age of 40, and the theologians who followed him argued that the word itiqad, faith, is not suitable for defining knowledge. The source of knowledge. While theologians presented more or less different approaches when defining knowledge, they generally agreed on its source, stating that knowledge is obtained from three sources: senses, reason, and reliable information. The subject attracted the attention of theologians, and they expressed their views. However, it is accepted that the first theologian to address and systematically examine the subject of knowledge at the very beginning of his work titled Kitab al-Tawhid was Maturidi. Senses. When Maturidi talks about senses as a source of knowledge, he uses the words iyan and hawas. While hawas specifically refers to the five senses, iyan has a broader meaning that encompasses not only sight and the meaning of ayn al-yaqeen, certainty of vision, but also the feelings in our inner world and inner observation. Therefore, Maturidi prefers to use the word iyan more often than hawas, thus including both the five senses that connect us to the outside world and the faculty that informs us of things like joy, sadness, pain, hunger, and thirst that occur in our inner world as sources of knowledge. According to Maturidi, iyan, meaning senses, is a source of clear and definite knowledge, and anyone who says that it does not provide definite knowledge rejects it as a source of knowledge. Information. We mentioned that one of the things that Maturidi accepts as a source of knowledge is information. Theologians have put forward different views on the definition and nature of information. While some believe that any statement that has the potential to be true or false is considered information, others argue that information requires an informant, and the presence of an informant is essential for information to exist. If there is no informant, a statement cannot be considered information. Reason. According to Maturidi, reason is of great importance both in terms of acquiring knowledge in general and in terms of religious and moral knowledge. According to him, it is thanks to reason that the information obtained through the senses and information can be considered reliable. That is, these two sources can be sources of knowledge. Reason, which Maturidi refers to as nazar to emphasize its importance, is the human capacity for analysis and synthesis. Value. The concept of value, which is an extension of the topic of reason as a source of knowledge, is discussed in Kalam under the heading of husn and qub. Husn, meaning to be beautiful, beauty, refers to something that is admired and loved, while its opposite, qubba, means to be ugly, ugliness, something that is hated. Raghib el-Isfahani states that a thing can be assigned a value of beauty in three ways: through intellect, emotion, and senses, but the word husn is generally used among people for beauty that is pleasing to the eye. And in the Quran, it mostly refers to what the eye of the heart, that is, basirat, considers beautiful. Ash'arites and Salafis believe that whether something is good or bad can be known as determined by religion. Because, according to them, goodness or evil is not an inherent quality of a thing or action, but that thing or action becomes good or bad by being commanded or forbidden by religion. According to this approach, an action is good because it is commanded by Allah and bad because it is forbidden. It is not that the action is commanded because it is good or forbidden because it is bad. According to the proponents of this view, responsibility is determined by divine commands. A person cannot be held responsible for knowing good and evil through reason and acting accordingly. According to the Mu'tazila, some Maturidi theologians and Islamic philosophers Husn and Qutb are based on reason. These values can be discovered and known through reasoning. The idea first put forward by Jam ibn Safwan that goodness and evil are inherent qualities of actions, that is, essential, was later adopted and developed by the Mu'tazila. Justice, one of the 5 fundamental principles of the Mu'tazila, requires both human free will and the intellectual capacity for humans to distinguish between good and evil in order to use this freedom in a good way. The majority of Maturidis and Salafi theologians, who have a different understanding of the relationship between values and reason, believe that the issue of Husn and Qutb has both intellectual and religious dimensions. According to them, goodness and evil are essentially qualities inherent in actions and can be known through reason. However, it must be acknowledged that there are some special cases in this regard, both in terms of people and actions. Due to these situations, in some cases, goodness and evil may be perceived differently by different individuals, and it may not always be possible for reason to grasp goodness and evil. In this context, Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, who sees goodness and evil as qualities related to the essence of actions, points out that although a person may initially dislike some actions due to their nature, they can decide that these actions are good by considering the information and conclusions offered by reason, and that some actions that emotions are drawn to are bad.